With 5 laps to go at Pocono today, 2 cars were racing for the win. Both of them wore Joe Gibbs Racing colors. Both of them had a story on the line. One of them was chasing history. The other was running on fumes, literally, and in the end, only one of those stories had a happy ending. The spotter sees everything. And today, we are breaking down the Great American Getaway 400 at Pocono Raceway, minus a race that delivered exactly what we said it might. Denny Hamlin completed his hat trick, 3 wins in a row, but the way he got it and what it cost his own teammate to give it to him, that is the story everyone is going to be talking about this week. This is the full breakdown of how Pocono 2026 ended. Let's start with the headline. Denny Hamlin won the Great American Getaway 400 at Pocono Raceway. His 3rd consecutive Cup Series victory, following wins at Nashville and Michigan, his 64th career Cup Series win, and he did it from the pole minus his 52nd career pole. His 6th at Pocono converted into a race win. Hamlin controlled large stretches of this race at the Tricky Triangle. The Joe Gibbs Racing, no. 11 Toyota was fast in practice, fast in qualifying, and fast for most of Sunday afternoon. But here is the thing about Pocono. It is called the Tricky Triangle for a reason. 3 completely different turns, 3 different grip levels, 3 different challenges every single lap. It is also a track where fuel mileage races happen more often than almost anywhere else. On the schedule, the straightaways are long, the fuel windows are tight, and when a driver decides to gamble on fuel instead of pitting, sometimes it wins races, and sometimes it costs you everything with 1 lap to go. Today, we saw both of those outcomes in the same race, involving the same 2 teammates, Christopher Bell. If you watched our video earlier this week, you know the story coming into today. Bell fractured his wrist in a brutal crash at Michigan, minus one of the hardest impacts of the next-gen era. According to NASCAR, he raced anyway. Pocono was supposed to be a recovery weekend. Manage the pain, manage the race, get through it. Instead, Christopher Bell nearly won the entire thing. Bell's team made an aggressive call. They were going to try to make it to the finish on 1 fewer pit stop than everyone else. For that to work, Bell had to drive differently than the rest of the field for the final stretch of the race. Less throttle, lifting earlier into the corners, coasting where other cars were still on the gas. Every lap he was saving fuel inches at a time, hoping it would add up to enough to skip that final pit stop entirely. And it almost worked. With laps ticking down, Christopher Bell, broken wrist and all, was at the front of the field, leading or right at the front, in position to win the Great American Getaway Thundine. A driver who, days earlier, had been hugged on the track by Chase Elliott after one of the scariest crashes of the year. Now, potentially about to win a Cup Series race off the back of pure strategy and grit. The spotter watched this unfold and for a few laps genuinely believed we were about to witness one of the best redemption stories of the entire season. But fuel-saving gambles are unforgiving. There is no partial credit. Either you make it to the checkered flag or you don't. And on the very last lap of the race, minus the actual last lap, minus Christopher Bell, ran out of fuel. His car slowed. The cars behind him, the ones that had pitted, the ones with fuel still in the tank, came through. Bell finished 26th. From potentially leading the race on the final lap to 26th at the checkered flag. That is how unforgiving fuel mileage racing is. And here is where it gets even more interesting. Because as Bell's fuel-saving gamble was unraveling in real time, Denny Hamlin was closing. With 5 laps to go, Hamlin made the winning pass on Christopher Bell, his own Joe Gibbs Racing teammate. Now, to be fair to both drivers, minus Bell wasn't fighting Hamlin for position because of pure pace at that point. Bell was managing a fuel number, trying to stretch every drop. Hamlin had fuel, Hamlin had pace, and Hamlin had a hat trick on the line. But think about how that moment looked from inside both cockpits. For Hamlin, this is the pass that completes the hat trick, 3 wins in a row. He is now within striking distance of the points lead. For Bell, this is the moment his fuel gamble starts to visibly fail. The math isn't working, and the car that passes him for the lead is wearing the same colors as his own. Hamlin took the white flag in the lead. He took the checkered flag in the lead. Her third win in a row, 64th career Cup Series victory. Tyler Reddick finished second minus, which actually sets up the championship picture beautifully because Hamlin and Reddick have now combined for 10 wins this season between them. William Byron rounded out the podium in third. Let's talk about what this means going forward for Denny Hamlin. This is not just a hot streak anymore. This is a statement. 3 wins in a row, 4 wins in his last 5 races. He is now within roughly 50 points of Tyler Reddick for the points lead minus, the closest he has been to the top of the standings all season. With 10 races remaining before the chase begins, Hamlin has turned June into his own personal stretch of dominance. For a driver who has spent his career chasing the one championship that has always eluded him, this is the kind of run that championship seasons are made of. For Christopher Bell, today is going to sting. There is no way around that. A broken wrist, a gutsy strategy call, a car at the front of the field on the final lap of a Cup Series race, and then minus nothing, 26th. But here's what the spotter wants Bell fans to take from today. The strategy almost worked. With a broken wrist, managing pain every single lap, Bell's team trusted him to execute one of the most demanding, fuel-saving runs of the season, and he very nearly pulled it off. That is not a driver who is fading. That is a driver fighting through adversity and coming within a handful of fuel-saving laps of winning a Cup Series race. The result will say 26. The story says something completely different. Your take here is what the spotter thinks. This was, on paper, described as a quieter race, minus fewer wrecks, less chaos than usual at Pocono. But the ending was anything but quiet. 2 Joe Gibbs Racing teammates. One chasing history with a 3rd straight win. The other risking everything on a fuel number with a broken wrist. One of them got the storybook ending. The other got a result that does not reflect what actually happened on track. Hamlin's hat trick is the headline, and it deserves to be. 3 wins in a row is genuinely rare in this era of NASCAR, and it puts him right back into serious championship conversation. But Christopher Bell's run today, broken wrist and all, deserves to be remembered too. Sometimes the best stories in NASCAR are not about who wins, they are about how close someone came. So here is your question for the comments today. Was Bell's fuel-saving gamble the right call minus, even though it didn't work? Or should his team have played it safe with the pit stop, given the broken wrist and everything he's been through this week? Drop your take below. If you follow NASCAR and you want race breakdowns like this every week, subscribe and hit that bell. The spotter sees everything, including a tank running dry on the very last lap. See you next time.